You're listening to Power Athlete Radio, a podcast dedicated to empowering your performance every damn day. Join former NFL pro and Power Athlete founder John Welborn as he dissects the greatest minds in strength, conditioning, and more. So whether your goal is to be the hammer, destroy mediocrity, or simply move the dirt, you've come to the right place. Now with the warm-up done, let the gains begin.
Hello, Power Athletes. John is away for the holidays, so I, Chauncey, am here to share some of our best moments from this year. If you're a fan of John McPhee, Chris Summer, or Judd Linehart, then stick around because we have their best fucking moments coming up. Buckle up. Here's John McPhee.
Dude, the places that regenerative medicine are going are exciting.
Yeah.
You know, Adil Khan had that event for Eterna, his company, on, life extension. And, these guys got up and said, it's very real. We have the genetics to live to about 120 years. The problem is you get to 120, you're fucking 120.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to make it that far because you're old as fuck. So the goal is, could you freeze your age at 40 to 50 and then make it to 120? Would you take that bet?
Yeah.
100%. If I could stay like physically like I am now to 120, I'd fucking take that bet.
Actually, I'd want them to turn me back till I didn't have white hair, and then I'd want to live there forever. Who wants to be fucking
like a vampire? Dude, if I could be 26 till I'm 120, I'll take that.
100%.
Well, this is interesting. I heard a quote by George Clooney where he's like, I'm not trying to look younger. I'm just trying to look like the best version of myself today. I don't know if that's bullshit because I think all those Hollywood guys get a lot of work done. But I think that's what it really comes down to. So like things like sleeping, making sure your hormones are dialed, eating a high protein diet, protecting gut resilience, doing something that's causing or that's forcing you to train. Because I think for people like us who did something, like you're in the military, tier 1, I played, obviously football, but people that are like high level performers, you need something that just because you're not in that environment or that theater anymore doesn't mean that doesn't turn something off. And this was something that I'd never realized. And actually I told Shanji on the podcast recently, like I didn't know that I was missing that part. Like when I retired from the NFL, I figured like that part of my life was kind of like, just kind of put it away. And then when I got back in and when I went to go do that course with Craig and, I'm out there one-on-one fist fighting dudes. And I was like, fuck, man, like I need to get my skills back. And on top of it, like I need to learn some ground game. And when I got into jits, I was like, fuck, man, like this is scratching a competitive itch and like a little bit of violence that I knew I needed that unfortunately I can't go out to bars and fucking fight people or show up at a fucking gun range and get into a gun duel. But like you can do
just can't talk about it. You know what I mean? You can't brag about it on Instagram.
Yeah. No, then you get in trouble. But like now you have a competitive environment where you're showing up and you're training with a bunch of 20-something-year-old killers.
Yeah.
And you're like, I might be old, but I'm still here being competitive, which is fucking good for the soul.
Yeah,
I agree. Like it's chicken soup for the soul.
I'm telling you, any adult needs an hour to themselves a day of fucking something you love to do. When you were a kid, you played the same fucking song over and over, danced the same stupid fucking dance over and over. You play 1,000 times, you loved it. Well, you still like stuff that much. You just don't do that anymore. Find whatever that is and do at least an hour a day. Yeah. For me, that's jits. You know what I mean? It's like
free play.
Yeah, seriously, right? And I'm so much better for it. I'm more relaxed most of the time. My cardio's gotten better. Like I just went hiking with a couple buddies of mine. Cardio-wise, I did really good.
Do you
know what I mean?
We were talking about before the podcast. I saw a clip that you don't believe in PTSD.
No.
Or like it's something like it was kind of a viral clip. It's like I don't think PTSD exists.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, I believe that. I believe it's a human condition, not a soldier condition. And I also believe like, okay, if you go down the major symptoms, right? Guys complain that they get forgetful, right? Like, okay, buy a fucking GPS. It'll tell you how to get home. I did. You know what I mean? But why are you forgetful? Why are you the things you are? And what you'll see is like every one of my buddies that I've talked to about this or guys that I've helped over the years is the first thing is like, well, first off, you're an asshole every day because you're hungover every fucking day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you to quit drinking because I love the fire water. Don't get me wrong. And I drink, and there's been times in my life where I quit drinking. There's times in my life I drank like a fish, and I drink responsibly now. But I would never tell anyone to quit drinking because alcohol is not the problem. The problem is you drank 2 bottles.
Yeah.
Hey, cut that down to a bottle and a half. I bet you feel a little better tomorrow. You know what I mean? And over a week, cut it down to one bottle, right?
Well, I think there's a difference, like to be able to socially go out and have a drink with your friends and laugh and have a good time and like grease the groove. I'm for like if you're going out and you're drinking as a coping mechanism,
drowning,
or you're over there like, you know, like my day was so fucking shitty, I need to go have drinks. Like if my day is shitty, dude, I go on fucking, I go walk outside or I go lift weights or you know what, or I show up to jits and like I'm, you know, like fucking I get choked out real quick and all of a sudden instantly it changes it. Still guessing your way through training, jumping between programs that promise fast results but never deliver? That ends now. When you commit to a full year of Power Athlete programming, we're including lifetime access to our nutrition protocols and a one-on-one consultation to build your game plan absolutely free. When you commit more, you get more. Every Power Athlete program is built on decades of experience training pros, operators, and people like you with lasting results. Forged by my time in the NFL, refined with PhDs and performance experts, and proven daily by a crew that's walked the same path you're on. No influence or BS, we exist to help you move better, perform better, and live stronger. If your goals change, no problem. Switch between any of our programs throughout the year, no extra cost. Go to powerathletehq.com/JanRes. Pick your program, then select athlete yearly at checkout. Don't sit on the sidelines. Commit to yourself today. But I think what happens is people are looking for these substances as coping mechanisms.
I'll pass.
I like if I'm feeling sad or I'm having a bad day or anything, the last thing I'm going to do is go fucking have a drink.
Yeah.
Like I look at it like a social thing. Like we were in California. I got to hang with my brothers, which was great. We sat around and laughed and told a bunch of fucking stories from back in the day and upset my mom with the shit we were telling her. But like we were having drinks and had a good time. Like I would never sit around and be like, oh, I fucking hate my life. I think that's what happens. Guys get into this kind of negative feed loop and they don't have positive outlets. Like that's what I like about JITS. Like you want to feel better about yourself, go get choked out by a 20-something-year-old Brazilian who's telling you you're doing a good fucking job.
Yeah. No. So anyway, so the alcohol is normally the first thing, right? And then the next thing is like, well, why are you forgetful? Why are you these things? And what you'll realize is like, you have cognitive function issues. You might have concussion issues. You might have... but you could sort through all of those, and any symptom you have, there's a fix for it. Generally, I think PTSD is 70% diet and alcohol related. And if you clean up your diet, right, and drink a little bit less, your life will get a lot better. You won't be forgetful. Like a ton of my buddies are forgetful because they think it's from concussions, and it's like, yo, you ever ate MCT oils? You ever taken them? And as soon as a guy takes MCT oil, eats avocados, right? Anything like that, food for the brain. As soon as you get that shit, you're not so fucking forgetful anymore. Yeah. Okay, were you forgetful or was this a food deficiency, right? And then, so like for years, like when I stopped taking the pills from the VA, and I'm like, I'm not eating any pills ever again. Fuck them.
Is that their standard fucking care? They just give you more and more pills?
Better living
through living through pharmacology.
Because I believe the Army OD'd me on Percocet, and I think I died. But they didn't tell me. And then, my day surgery went to 16 hours in the recovery room from overdose symptoms.
So wait, what happened?
Yeah.
So wait.
I had a bicep surgery, and my wife's supposed to come pick me up in like a couple hours.
Oh, so you ruptured a bicep?
Yeah. And then I think they OD'd me. And then from then on, they tell me I'm allergic to Percocet, so they give me this Dilaudid shit. But like, you take that shit, you can't do shit. I couldn't have went outside and taught fucking 6 classes a year. One every other month. You know what I mean? On them fucking pills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I ditched them all and I quit taking pills. And I changed my diet, right? And a lot of my PTSD symptoms went away. You know what I mean? And a lot of it was cognitive function. I did a lot of O2 chamber work. Mm-hmm. That fucking helps with cognitive function big time, Yeah,
the hyperbarics.
I took MCT oil for a long time, and then I realized just eat more avocados and, better food. So my PTSD I fixed with diet and cutting out the alcohol or cutting it back.
I think PTSD also has to do with like a feeling of like I don't belong, and like almost like a feeling of like I'm lost in the world. Yeah. So I like the symptoms for PTSD happen to ex-NFL players when they retire. Right. So you had a place to go, you had a uniform, you had something. I mean, similar to like the military, right? Like, you know, I
team.
Yeah, I had a team. I had people to be around. I had doctors. I was part of something. We had a mission. We were going to go out and fucking play this game. And like, I had somewhere to be. Then all of a sudden they're like, fuck off, leave. Yeah. And then you're sitting around and you're like, I don't have any of the support system that I used to have, and I don't know what my future looks like. Yeah. And I think they're like that feeling of like I'm lost and I'm lonely and I don't know what I should do and this, and then like, you know, guys start coping with drinking and you know, maybe they've had concussions and all these things that kind of play into it. And then when they ask me, I'm like, you know, when I retired from the NFL, I was already working. You know, like I never really retired. I like stopped playing in football, and next thing I know, I was teaching 36 seminars a year and doing what I'm doing here. And like, there's always something to do. Like, there's never a moment where I thought to myself, like, it's probably shit over the last 15 years. There's not a single time where I've woke up or sat there and been like, I don't know what I'm gonna do today, or I got nothing to do, or I'm bored. Like, there's always something to do. And especially now with, you know, with the kids that I work with, you know, like, coach, what time are we training? What time are you coming in here? I mean, like, believe me, I have my entire day blown up by people trying to get me to come do stuff with them. And like, you know, if I do have free time, like I drive with like my gi and my stuff in the car. And if I'm driving by and I'm like, ooh, there's a class I can go, I swing by and I see the guys and I go train with them. Yeah. And, you know, and then I got kids and I got a wife and I mean, there's a million different things. I mean, there's property. I mean, I weld, I build, I mean, like, there's always something to do. But I think the problem is that, guys become very siloed. And the other issue too, I think this happens as men age, they become a lot like lone wolves, where they don't want to be around anybody and they kind of self-select out and they kind of isolate themselves. And I don't think we do well in isolation. I think men tend to do better in groups when they have other men. You know, iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. I mean, like, you know, I know that's fucking, we've used that here in Power Athlete, but it's all over. I mean, it's true. Like, you have to be around people. And I think what's been good too is to be around young guys and to mentor them and see them, and like Arash, and be able to train with these guys and like see them grow up and become, you know, better versions of themselves. Yeah. Like, that has been as rewarding for me as raising my own kids, is seeing these guys grow up. And I always tell them, I'm so proud of the people you guys are becoming. Yeah. And, you know, like when I walked Philippe out, you know, his family's all down in Brazil. So like, I mean, between like Arash and Victor and Shanji, I mean, we're his family. Yeah. And it was good to be there and to see him go out and see young guys going out there and like, you know, taking on the world and being out there. And, you know, it's great to be a part of, and I feel very, very fortunate to be able to contribute, but then also be able to take as much, because it's something for me to belong to. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I call that guys get stuck in their last chapter. This book's going to have a lot of chapters. Until you're dead, you'll have chapters. They get stuck in one, and they just want to read this chapter, and they don't want to move on, and they stay in that chapter. And I think that's when the booze comes, you know what I mean? Like, they're just stuck in this chapter. But the reality is like, oh, and guys think this is the best chapter in the book, normally. You know what I mean? How can this get better? Like, I was at the tip of the spear, and now nothing, you know? But I think, well, you don't know what the fuck is left in the book. Go write this bitch. And if there ain't nothing exciting in this book, make that fucking shit happen. Yeah. And find shit you like and do a lot of it just like a fucking little kid would. And you wouldn't think like that anymore. You know what I mean? But guys get stuck in this last chapter, best chapter. And it's like, I was here for a while. Like, I was just thinking, like, fuck after war. Like, what am I going to do? No one needs people killed like that. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck do I do?
Tim Kennedy had a funny statement about you that like, you should be sealed in a glass box that says only break in time of war. Yeah. And
it's true. I'll break the glass myself too. Like, you know what I mean? I'll tell you when it's wartime.
Yeah, but I didn't get that from you. Like, I imagined that person was sealed in that because he couldn't live in society. You seem to do pretty well.
Yeah, well, I've had to adapt, and I've had to learn there's other chapters, and like, there could be bad chapters, there could be good chapters, there could be chapters that are so because the best chapter is coming. You don't fucking know, right? And then like, this is where like getting in better shape. Now I'm not afraid of challenge. I'll go hiking with my friends where before I was too fucking fat to make it up the mountain. You know what I mean? And then I'm not scared of nothing now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was kind of living in fear as a fat drunk in my own chapter, thinking nothing's going to get better. Of course it's not going to get better. It's all you fucking think. Like, it's self-licking ice cream. You know what I mean? So I tell guys, fucking go write another chapter, but make this next chapter better. Like, go do something, right? Like, because you can't do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, no one does nothing well.
What are they doing? Just waiting to die?
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No, it's an interesting thing. Like, my mom's 85. And, we were just out there and like, I'm always like, Mom, like, what are you doing? Like, and she's not like interested in doing anything. And like, she like walks her dog and kind of hangs out and like goes and like, babysits in this, but like, she's still pretty young. I'm like, Mom, like you need to do something. Yeah. She's like, I don't know what to do. And like, I like, it's, I'm not saying anything bad, like her and my dad were married for like 55 years. My dad passed away and she's been kind of lost without him. But like, I constantly think like, if I was in that position, like, what would I do if I was 85 and like I'd probably be fucking van life with you. Like, I'd be like, I'm gonna get in this van. I'm gonna go to every national park and I'm gonna fucking wake up and see the sun rise over fucking El Capitan.
Let's go.
Like, I don't know if the thought of like, I don't know, like when I was young, I never really thought about being old. Like I remember when I was in my 20s, like being like in my 40s and 50s, like being in my 40s might as well have been 4,000.
Yeah.
Like 50 to me was probably like, I was like, there's no way I'll ever make 50.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Yeah, I won't even live that long.
Yeah, I won't live that long. Like and the problem too was that when I was a young guy in the NFL, these old guys would come and they looked like, I was like, what's that guy, like 400 years old? That guy's 50, he looks fucking terrible. So like that thing of like, not only like continue to train and continue to eat well and doing all these things and staying in good shape and staying active so that like I can live my best life today. Yeah. And when you run into people and like, oh shit, like, you see, I'm sure you see this too. You see people and you're like, fuck dude, this guy might as well be 400. You might as well just be fucking dead. No, I still want to be competitive.
Yeah.
And, and then like for me, that fountain of youth is like eating well. Right? Like sleeping well, doing everything that you can, getting your blood work done. I mean, doing all these little things that you hear, there's people that have fucking massive, I'm sure Sean Ryan's done 4,000 podcasts like we have on this and Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. But at the end of the day, like fucking Rogan puts a lot, I mean, he's got a lot of available cash, don't get me wrong, but like, he fucking invests a ton of time into his health and his mental state and all these.
100%.
And, I mean, And he should, because he's trying to live his best life.
Right.
He wants to be around as long as he can to spend all those $200 million.
Well, yeah. And the problem is like, I don't want to wait till I'm 85 to start the bucket list. That's a problem within itself for me. I want to be knocking out the bucket list now. So when I'm 85, like,
so that was my dad.
I should want to do stuff, but like,
my dad passed away at 80, and when he was kind of at the end, we were sitting around, and I was like, Dad, like give him something to live for. Like, he was fighting through cancer, and I was like, Dad, like, is there anything left on the bucket list? And everything on his bucket list he had already done. He just wanted to redo them with all of us. So he had already lived, like he had gone scuba diving in the Galapagos, and he'd done this and this. I mean, he listed like fucking 50 things that he had done, and I was like, Dad, you've done every one of these. He's like, yeah, but I wish I had done them with you guys. And
that's great.
And so then I realized like he wasn't like, I wish I had another Porsche. I wish I'd never had this and this.
No, it's the bucket list.
It was nothing material. Yeah. It was about the experiences he had with us and the family and my mom and like this. Like that's what he felt like. I always think, for a lot of these guys, like, let's say like the Bill Gates or the Elon Musk, I mean, these guys like they're all going to die the same way unless they figure out how to stay alive forever as fucking robots. But like the experiences that you have, and more importantly, like the memories and how you affect people and this, and like that's what I always joke with the guys at Fleep. I'm like, hey Fleep, at some point you're going to be old, and you're going to tell stories about like, hey, this guy that I used to train with back in the day, my coach, he used to say this and this and this, and I'm going to stay alive because you're going to tell these stories. Yeah. And that's what, like, just like I talk about old man Zangus, the guy that trained me, who's since passed, like I've told Zangus stories for years on this podcast, and people ask me about him, and he stays alive for the mere fact that I get to tell you funny things that he said.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, in the Reese across America, when I put the Reese in Arlington, they do, it's always, remember, honor, teach. But they're big into saying the name, so you don't go away. So if someone says your name, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Even
stays
if it's
forever.
Christmas, yeah.
What is there ever been? And this probably end up on our last question, but is there ever? I was kind of thinking like in terms of like the theaters of battle that you fought in. Was there ever a moment where you were like convinced like this is my final moment, like I'm gonna die?
Yeah, my first day, like first mortar attack. You know what I mean?
You were like, you know what? I need to make peace. It's ending right now, and then somehow it didn't.
Well, no, I realized like I could die at any moment, and then I think I realized that I needed to. Anybody who knows me or my family, I should let them know how I feel about them at all times. That's what I thought. So I tried to do that, but like people just take it for granted. Like you tell people you love them or something, but like, you know, when you're going back on a deployment, I don't think people are like, yeah, like just like cutting the fucking grass. You love me, get the fuck out of here. But I tried to always kind of make peace with that. It kind of helped me, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wrote that check so many times, it's not even funny.
Right. So there wasn't just one moment. There was many.
Yeah, several. Like fucking several. You know what I mean? Like, and there was also times where people were telling me I was gonna fucking, you know, write that check, and like I didn't think it was true. You know what I mean? I'll tell you a funny story. One night we're in Solder City, and like I forget what we had to do, but we're waiting for a certain time, and basically Solder City is a shithole. They just shoot at you from every direction. They're shooting at all times, everywhere. Fucking ricochets. Like you can't fucking tell. So we're waiting to open up with the miniguns, and so I went out. I got out of my armored vehicle, and I seen a bakery that was open. So I asked my terp, this guy Bill. Bill was from Buffalo. His like parents were Iraqi. He came here. He was 10, and like Bill's from Buffalo. He is not Iraqi. You know, he makes this noise that they understand, but like, is this guy Bill from Buffalo? You know what I mean? Like, so Bill's my terp, and I'm like, Bill, what kind of fucking cookies? Say some cookie names. And he's like, fucking Clucci or something, fucking says some shit. I say it back to him a couple times. I get it right. So I walk down the street. Everyone thinks I'm fucking crazy. They're shooting everywhere, ricochets. I walk into the thing, and I hold out my like bag, and we had these like clear bags you throw shit in when we find shit. I held it out, and I said that word for cookies, and these motherfuckers thought I was robbing them. You know what I mean? And then they filled this fucking bag. They're like, and then like I pulled out a bunch of money, and I just set it down like. From Savage money, it's no good to me. Like, I don't know. It's probably a lot of money. You know what I mean? More than the cookies were worth. And then I come outside, and every vehicle, I'm like, I got some cookies for you, right? And then one of my number 2 guy was like, I was like, open up, I got some cookies for you. And he fucking cracks the window. I'm like, open the fucking window, dick. I'm not fucking opening the window. Fuck you, you know? So I took a cookie, and I just started jamming them through the slot, and they're like bouncing off his fucking helmet, and he's trying to get them. I'm like, you want fucking cookies, motherfucker? You want to roll your window down, right? So just fucking stuffing cookies in them. I go back, and I sit down, and Bill was like, John, only you would walk through Solder City to give everybody fucking cookies. And I was like, fucking thanks, Bill. You know what I mean? Like, I thought everyone deserved it. You know what I mean? But my buddy only cracked the window. And like, the cookies are hitting his helmet, breaking, falling on the floor. I don't know if he got a cookie. I mean, he probably ate the crumbs. They were good, by the way. Cookies were good. But, yeah. And then, like, I used to just do shit like that. And then them guys think I'm fucking nuts for walking out there. But I never one time felt like I was going to buy the farm that day, even though Bill was like, Bill thought I was going to buy the farm. You know what I mean? Like, so did my other guys thought I was going to buy the farm.
Was it a feeling of like, this isn't my time? Or was there a feeling of like, I don't like whatever happens? I mean, or is it like,
yeah,
you know,
fucking,
I got a little angel sitting on my shoulder that wants a cookie?
Yeah, I know. There's definitely days where you feel like today's not your day. Maybe that was one of those days. I don't remember, but like I just felt like everybody needs these fucking. It's middle of the night. These dudes are making cookies. I want fucking cookies. You know what I mean? So I went and got cookies. But yeah, I think sometimes like you just kind of know it's not your day. Other times you're just, honestly, most times I was just so fucking tired and over the fucking, the stupid shit, the noise, that I was just like, I just don't give a fuck and just do it anyway. You know what I mean? So I think it's a combination of all of it, to be honest.
I want to go into taller athletes versus shorter athletes as far as like how you train them. So we are obsessed with bar speed. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more than that, because you have to look at not just how fast the bar is moving, but if you look at, a lever, like let's say a femur, and that's the lever, and then how far that is perpendicularly to gravity from their center of mass is the moment arm, right? So to move, for a taller athlete to move the bar the same distance, that lever arm increases to the same joint angle at a faster rate than a shorter athlete. So their moment arm increases faster. So the taller athlete is literally experiencing more force to move the bar the same speed than a shorter athlete. Mm-hmm. So you have to spend longer with taller athletes developing a strength base so they can handle those forces. Because if a guy lowers the same bar a foot, but his femur is longer and it has to move back longer, the moment arm increased faster and they generated force faster. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of considerations that go into training people based on their natural build that we have to consider, and we can't train all athletes the same.
Yeah, well, anthropometrical ratios matter.
They really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's you bring in a guy that's 6'9", 6'10". One of the guys I do jits with is like 6'9", 6'10". When we were in there training, like he's like, man, it's really hard for me to pull a barbell off the ground. I was like, yeah, you think? So I had these. So for me, one of the sticking points for me on the deadlift is always 4 inches off the ground. Yeah. Right. Like for me, I can always pull a bar, but it's basically that 4 inch. Once I get to the knees, I'm fine. Yeah. It's always there. So we bought these huge kind of Mark Bell wagon wheels. Yeah. And they basically start the bar 4 inch off the ground. So it's like my natural weak point. And so he comes over and he pulls it and he's like, oh my God, this is so much easier. And he's like, man, I've been pulling this bar. It's so this. I'm like, dude, you're like 6'9", 6'10".
Because you're going off an arbitrary standard.
Yeah. I was like, just some guy arbitrarily picked what 45s are. So he got those and his fucking deadlift showed up. And I'm like, Marty, like this is where like this thing gets a little ridiculous. Like if you're a big dude or you have some specific, like, Victor Hugo, who just won the big main event for the UFC Fight Pass in Vegas on Thursday. Victor's got some L4, L5 issues. So any form of cervical loading kind of shut him down. Yeah. So what do? We just did belt squat. And dude, the guy's got like 9 fucking plates on each side of this belt squat, just hammering it.
Because his whole point is to make himself a better fighter, not a better weightlifter.
Yeah. Dude, I can't do what he does on the weight. I can squat way more weight. I can't do what he does on the belt squat. And he's killing it. And like people ask me, I'm like, well, dude, if cervically loading his spine with a barbell on his back hurts and shuts him down, then why am I going to do that? Mm-hmm. That's like the definition of insanity, doing it over and over again, expecting a different response.
Axial loading isn't a crucial part of most combat sports. Unless you're, it's literally picking somebody up and carrying. It is for like firefighting. Yeah. Like if you can't axial load and you're a firefighter, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah. But for a fighter, like it's not, you know how frustrating it was that I had to spend so much time, like I had some athletes with scoliosis and things like that, training them on the back squat to try to build them up for an arbitrary lift that I knew they didn't even need to do, but they had to do it because for some reason we believe that if you can't back squat, you can't play football. Yeah. And he wanted to play at SMU, and his spine was like this. Yeah. And months building up so he could tolerate a heavy load in back squat, which was completely arbitrary to the sport of football. Yeah. And I did it because I knew I was like, they're not going to let you on the team if you can't back squat. So you got to be able to back squat. Yeah. And at the same time, every day, it's like there's other stuff that we could, just like training kids for the NFL Combine. Yeah. It's like there's other stuff we can be doing that would make you a better football player to help you make a team. And I have to dedicate so much time being very specific to get you a good combine number. Yeah.
Well, it's training for the world's biggest fashion show, as I used to call it.
God, man,
I went in and worked with Dave Spitz's guys for the Combine a couple of years ago. And I remember telling them, I'm like, this isn't football. This is the world's biggest fashion show. Now we're going to train you for the fashion show. But the day that it's over, like nobody's ever going to ask you to ever do any of these things again. And there's a completely different set of training that evolves. How do I basically go out and be a starter in the NFL?
Exactly.
And, and the problem is that there's so much historical accuracy in the NFL that these coaches and these scouts and GMs, whatever, they want to bet on sure things. So they know that if this guy was a great player, here are his stats in this. And what they're trying to do is find people that fit within this bucket. It's like I was watching the other day, the top offensive lineman, I forgot where he plays at, but they were complaining that he has short arms. Right. So they're like, he's never going to be able to play tackle with his short arms because all these guys have longer arms. But then if you watch him play, he plays real high in his hips. So he's going to, and they're like, well, his arms are short. They're going to have to move him inside to guard, which is funny because playing guard, you can't have short arms either. But the thing that's interesting is he was real stiff. He's real high. Like he doesn't have a lot of mobility in his hips. At guard, you got to be able to like kind of like sink and be low if you're a little smaller like I did.
Yeah.
Or you're just 360 pounds and you're a fucking mountain and they can't get around you.
Yeah.
Right. But like if you have to be flexible to play guard, and they were like, oh, he's, real high hipped. He's short arm. He's never going to play. We're going to have to move him inside. But then they're like, he doesn't have the flexibility to play inside. But then again, when I'm watching film, this dude's killing people. And I'm like, instead of like stacking him up against all these arbitrary numbers,
that's crazy.
Why don't you just like let, but they don't want to put a lot of money in. I mean, it's this potential deal. It's, I was like watching it and I'm like, I'm watching the guy's film. I'm like, his film's pretty fucking good, dude. At the end of the day, these numbers are fine, but what does the film look like?
Yeah. It is funny because it's eye-opening when you see the stats of the combine compared to the success in the NFL and how poorly it correlates. There is a range, right? But with like a receiver, and the very fastest receivers don't tend to do that well, because usually to be that fast and that elite, you have to be built in a certain way where you can accelerate, or I guess acceleration is both speed up and slow down, but whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Accelerate really well, but your ability to decelerate is a little bit compromised.
Yeah.
And everybody knows as a receiver to run good routes, your ability to decelerate quickly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you get below that 4.4 range and you're like a true burner, your versatility in the NFL as a receiver is a little bit limited, because it kind of tells me in order to be that fast, maybe your deceleration,
Or you're small.
Yeah. Or you're, yeah.
Or you're 5'8" and 154
so
pounds.
I'm not saying speed doesn't matter,
do it.
but is that extra tenth of a second really that crucial? Now, obviously don't want a receiver out there running a 4.8, but I'm pretty sure Jerry Rice ran like a 4.6 or something at the combine.
Yeah. But you have to remember too, his precision in how he ran routes and his movement from like point A to point B and his ability to get open, like the best in the world. Like I don't think anybody ever watched, and this was interesting. The story goes, Bill Walsh I think he was at the Senior Bowl, or so, like I forgot what it was. Like he was somewhere and he turned on the TV in his hotel room and they had Jerry Rice playing. It was a historical black college they played at, and they like, what was it? Mississippi. I'm gonna mess it up. So he's down there.
Mississippi Valley.
Yes, Mississippi Valley. So he turns it on and he sees Jerry Rice on TV, and was just like, oh my God, we're drafting this guy. And then his combine numbers were really average, and he's like, doesn't matter, we're taking this guy.
Joe Montana's combine numbers were average.
I mean,
that dude, we forget how
Tom
mobile.
Brady.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't mean that those things don't matter, but we have to put their performance on the field first. So,
the GMs, the owners, and the scouts, most of them, I mean, there's a few. There's John Lynch, there's some guys that played the game at a high level. Most of those guys did not play. And the problem is that because they don't know the intangibles, because I don't think they did the job. I played for coaches that never played in the NFL, that played football at maybe college, like lower levels, and I played for guys that were high level players. Ron Rivera. I mean, guys that played with the best of the best. I mean, Ron Rivera played opposite. Mike Singletary. Played. Yeah, I mean, so like dudes that were like legit cats. Those guys had a completely different approach to this thing and a different mindset. And it was like, you know what, you're a pro, you know what to do. If you can't, we're going to get somebody else in. And there was just a very different thing. So I feel like a lot of these guys, they don't want to bet on somebody, because if they're wrong, they want to keep their job. So it's all cover your ass. Well, he had all the numbers. This guy had these numbers. He was great. He wasn't this. And I think what it is they just lose the intangibles. I mean, like the kid from Arizona State, the running back.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Yeah,
I mean, that kid in that championship game was throwing up, like was having to go in and out. I mean,
Scatterboo.
Yeah, but isn't he like 5'8"?
Yeah, he's pretty short.
Yeah, he's like 5'8", like 225. I I would draft that dude. I want him on my team.
Exactly.
Just for the fact that guy runs the rock. He plays hard. I'm interested to see how he does. College has a little bit different. Now all of a sudden you're getting like dudes in their late 20s and 30s, men with mortgages and divorces and alimony in this, which fucking makes dudes real angry. People are always like, man, where does the intensity and the anger come from? I'm like, it comes from a mortgage and a few divorces and maybe some alimony.
Yeah.
Like I always tell the story about Keith Hamilton, who I played against, who played at the Giants. He had a bunch of like his kids' faces tattooed all over him. And I remember playing against him and seeing the kids' faces. And then I think I asked Strahan later, I was like, man, what's up with all the kid faces? He's like, he has to pay alimony. So every time he looks at him, he gets fucking mad. And he's like, that's his fuel. And then I was like, well, how old are, and I guess his kids were in their like teens and 20s. So like, these were their baby pictures and he was still, and I remember being like the Bobby Boucher, this is my tackle and fuel.
That's so awesome.
But I was playing and Keith Hamilton was probably one of the best people I ever played against. And oddly enough, he's not in the Hall of Fame, which he should be. But man, that guy was like the hammer, dude. He was a beast. And I just remember seeing those pictures and being like, that's a motherfucker, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think height is one of those things in most positions in the NFL. It's a little bit overrated. With some of the best linebackers in history were under 6 foot tall. The best quarterbacks in history.
I played against Zach Thomas.
Yeah.
And dude, they had him listed at 5'10" in the program. Yeah. I don't think he was 5'10".
Yeah. I mean, the skill of football is going to trump anything else that you can come up with.
Like Pepper Johnson. I mean, some of those guys.
All those Saints linebackers were all short. A lot of them were short. Sam Mills, I think, was really short.
Yeah.
Sam Mills has a great story, actually. I love that guy's story. You talk about perseverance to get in the league. He's the guy that had to go play in the CFL for a long time, right? That's, great story.
No, I mean, so they call these guys outliers. But outliers are the guys that make it to the Hall of Fame and like change the game. Like the left tackle for the Eagles, the big dude from he's either New Zealand or Australia that they got, was a rugby guy and they brought him in to play. He never played offensive line and, he's 6'8", 360. And it was pretty interesting that the coach is developing him and they were like, this guy's got like this. And when you're 6'8", 360, your margin of error is pretty big. And if you're fairly athletic, and he's athletic, but it was pretty interesting. Like just watching him in his set when he sets back, right? He like kicks his leg back. He gets this arch, and he like as he's kicking, there's like this like hip extension arching back that is very rare to see in offensive linemen. Jonathan Ogden used to do it. Like I've seen guys do it, and very few people can. And it was something that I saw. Like so, when I came in the NFL. I was playing tackle and they gave me all of these films. And like, I was watching all these guys to play tackle and finally I went up and knocked on my coach's door and I was like, hey, do you have any like 6'5" white dudes I can watch? Because you're showing me like these 6'8", 360 pound black dudes. Yeah. Like, do you have any dudes that kind of like look like me? Yeah. And he was like, yeah, that's
a good point.
Yeah, sure. Like, hold on. And he gave me all these
He's a Berkeley guy. He's a pretty smart guy.
So he gives me Zimmerman. He gives me Jim Lachey. He gives me Jumbo Elliott and like Tunch Jilkin, and starts giving me all these dudes that like, I'm like a 6'5.5", 310 pound, 308 pound white dude. And so he's showing me guys that are about my size. And I was like, okay, like I can do this. Yeah. What you were showing me is like, these dudes are mountains moving, like watching Jordan Wall I think. I'm going to butcher his last name. Sorry, dude. Incredible athlete. So like watching him just do that one set that he could do, that was something that I saw. And like people are like, oh, he's talking to this. I'm like, hey, dude, that guy got arch in his chest and his back off of his first kick. That's fucking rare to see. And I only saw that in like some of the best to ever do the game. Now, the guys that I watched, like Jumbo and those guys, like there was a set that they did and they vertical set. But that was super impactful for me, is being able to like look at guys instead of, and then I developed technique off of that. Like this works for those dudes. I'm going to do it more so than like you're teaching one technique. Yeah. Like how Jordan plays at 6'8", 360 wasn't how I could play. Yeah. So I think what happens, and to kind of weave this back, when you're talking about linebackers or different people, I mean, there was Levon Kirkland played a certain way. Mm-hmm. There's ways that like, Zach Thomas played, and these guys that was unique to them, different than a 6'4", really like a taller linebacker. Mm-hmm. These dudes would literally bend their knees and they would like almost cheat themselves behind like the 3 technique or the 1. Yeah. And then as soon as they would scrape and you wouldn't see them, and then you would see them and they would surprise you.
So it's cool because there's commonalities in athleticism and movement patterns that span all sports that we can see, but also there's different strategies to achieve the same thing that aren't right or wrong, that people just employ a lot of times intuitively based on their own biomechanics and strengths and weaknesses. That exposure and practice in that sport will teach them, hopefully with the aid of like a good coach or mentor. But it's the rigid thinking that there's this one right way to move and we have to move this way. That should form a good template off common human movement patterns. But then we have to accept the variances in movements. That's pretty beautiful that people can figure stuff out.
Sure.
It's just like sprinting. If you look at 5 sprinters running 100 meter, they all look a little bit different.
Yeah.
There are commonalities, but you can, like, people like to rag on Usain Bolt. I'm like, that dude is doing the perfect thing for his body type. It's not good for you.
I don't know anybody that rags on that dude.
Well, I live in the sprinting world, and they're like, well, if he would have just done this, he'd have been even faster, because he has a lot of like hip movement in his first
especially
steps.
in the start.
Yeah, and he runs with kind of a high chest towards the end, and he runs with a little bit too much plantar flexion according to them.
Yep.
I'm like, all of those things are unique to his body, and that that rotation of his pelvis around his long axis increases his stride length a little bit. He is able to generate a lot of foot speed still with some plantar flexion, so it gives him a longer lever. His ability, he's still strong enough to, like, at the end let his chest get pulled up and still maintain pelvic stability. Yeah. You're not Usain Bolt. You should run different than him.
Well, a lot of these guys start fast, and then it's almost a speed deficit, like how long they can kind of keep it. He actually was accelerating, like he started slow and then all of a sudden started getting momentum and using his longer limbs. I love watching him sprint, but like honestly, to me, watching the Olympics, especially like the 100, the 200, and the 400, is like hurdles. I mean, that stuff to me is even though it's hard to judge athleticism running in a straight line. Sure, it's still the expression of speed. I would rather watch that any day of the week.
When you break it down in slow motion and watch it stride by stride, it's one of the most amazing and beautiful things. Yeah. Full speed humans running on 2 feet is just the things that have to occur. Sprinting is one of the most beautiful things to me, and it's not what people think. There's a lot of torque and coil and crossing your midline and wrapping around your center line, and people that teach speed with this straight up torso and this arm swing. I'm like, that's not how fast people run, man. I really had to learn the art of sprinting when I became a speed coach. Yeah. And I thought I knew a lot going into it, and I didn't know anything. I had to really analyze it and learn. A
lot of that came from Michael Johnson. The 90-90.
I know, he was I
mean, but you're talking about just a phenomenal, like this is the hard part. It's hard to build a framework and an architecture and a template on people that are so genetically gifted. When you watch him run, his legs move and he was literally straight up and down, and it was 90-90-90. And like, I remember watching him run in those gold shoes in, what was that? Like was that the Seoul Games? Like that he wore the gold shoes and set the world record. But like, his running, like there was almost no upper body lean. There was no like movement. He was just like, and they built that entire 90-90 thing off of him. And he had the perfect anthropometrical ratios to be able to run that way. But like, there's only one of him. So to build a system and to basically buy into this dogma based upon that seems crazy to me.
My knock on him is he rags on a lot of other sprinters, and he can't see how special he was. Maybe he's changed, but I remember him saying things about other sprinters. Yeah. And I'm like, you were kind of an enigma, man. Like,
well, he's an anomaly.
Yeah, anomaly. Yeah, not enigma.
Every time I hear the word enigma, I think of Batman. You remember with Jim Carrey, like the enigma,
enigma wrapped in a riddle.
Yes.
I mean, like, you can't impose what you did onto other people. It just doesn't work. Yeah. And I see a lot of good athletes that make horrible coaches because they, first of all, just assume people can pick stuff up intuitively like they can, and they assume the way that worked for them will work for everybody. Yeah. And they just fail in that analysis.
They fail at the margins of their experience.
Yeah.
It's always the wannabes. I'm going to hurt feelings, but it's always the wannabes who are rigid. This is my way. It's the only way. There is no other way. I'm the second coming of whatever. No. Anybody who's been at a world-class level knows that any advantage you have in an approach, in a technique, in a protocol is temporary, because they're going to see what you're doing. They're going to dissect it and they're going to implement it, which is good because then it pushes you to do more. But it's only the wannabes who think, yeah, I've got the final answer. And they haven't competed at a high enough level to know, no, that's not the case at all. Everyone's just looking for that sliver of an edge, and if you're dogmatic, you're done.
Yeah. Well, if you get stuck in, this is the only philosophy, this is the only way I can do things, that's where I feel like that's a slow death.
100%. And they're no longer relevant. It's kind of like I'll see a coach and he might get lucky. He just happened to have inherited a phenom. And this kid was going to be good regardless. And so you kind of look for, is he a one-hit wonder? Does he have, do we have a history of excellence? History? He probably knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He had one? Maybe. I'll wait and see. Sit down, chat. What do you got going on? Sometimes these poor kids, they survive in spite of this guy they're working with.
Yeah. Sounds like every NFL strength coach, not to throw shade at them, but when you take the world's best athletes, all you have to do is implement a training system that doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
So, and I have a ton of NFL strength coaching friends, but it really comes down to you take the world's best athletes. All you have to do is make sure that they don't get injured in the weight room. Don't hurt them. Yeah. Don't hurt them. I mean, how much do you really have to improve them? I mean, if they want to improve, but for the most part, the skills they come in, way different than in college. Like I showed up in college at 18 years old and with so far physically, just maturity wise, there's guys that are 23 that have beards and I didn't even own a razor. And then showing up in the NFL, it's a little bit different. I came in and started. Like the difference between 18 and 23 is much different than 23, 24, and 30. It's just physical difference.
I'm content. So we've had Marquette back in the day. Their strength coach was implementing our stuff for gymnastic bodies. They made Final 8 or Elite 8, whatever it's called for basketball for the first time. He's pumped. We've had, we've had 3 NHL guys came in and they were pumped. They felt better. They're performing. And I was surprised how unsophisticated prep was at a pro level. It was just kind of like, well, I read an article, you guys go. It's like, well, where's your rhyme or reason? Where are your metrics of performance? How do you know if you're improving or not? Oh, they put more weight on the bars. Yeah, but you're not a lifter. You're an athlete. Yeah. Are you faster? Can you jump higher? Are you slower? Yeah. They don't look at any of that.
Well, if the training doesn't, the analogy I give my guys is you guys are all, let's say you guys are all warriors. You guys are all killers. I come in, the training has to sharpen your blade. And if you 100%. Go out there and you don't cut smoother and it's not faster and it's more lethal, then we got to figure this thing out a little bit. I'm not forging you a blade. I'm not giving you a sword. Mm-hmm. I'm here to sharpen your blade. Now you have to learn how to use it and I have to make sure that the tool is ready. But at the end of the day, you have to go out and use it to effectively cut heads off. We interrupt this episode with a shameless self-promotion. Are you a field or court sport athlete looking to dominate the leaderboard? Let me introduce you to FieldStrong. Take your inner athlete to the next level by exposing yourself to the advanced training techniques that contributed to my 10 years in the NFL. Unlock pinnacle performance and level up your athletic potential today. Head to powerathletehq.com/FieldStrong and claim your 7-day free trial. Now back to the show.
100%. I see all the time these coaches saying, you can't be too strong. I'm like, well, you've obviously never performed at a world-class level, right? Because you can definitely get to the point where your strength's interfering. So Alan was alternate for Tokyo, but way back when he was 12, national champ, he's stronger than our 18-year-olds on national team. But I'm watching him and he's getting slow. He's kind of like a tree sloth going up the rope. Mm-hmm. I should say it was a year before he won nationals. So I came home and I was like, wow, I pushed strength too far. Mm-hmm. I pushed it too far. So I changed everything. Instead of resisted handstand push-ups, it was all hopping handstand push-ups. It was not weighted ropes. It was all hopping rope climbs. Everything was plyometric.
Yeah. And rate of force development.
Rate of force. And that was the year that just an easy, smooth nationals crushed everyone. Yeah. Crushed everyone.
Yeah, but
it's a nice. I want to segue a bit if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I get pro athletes coming in. I don't know your thoughts on this. So for a gymnast, and it occurs to me based on what you said, for them being warriors, their physique is their weapon. It's their blade.
Sure.
And so we use that physical prep, put in that final sharp edge. It's not to break down. So I'd learned this from the Russians. We do our regular conditioning the morning before the meet.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, you're exhausted. No. At this point, I'm not trying to make him stronger. I'm just keeping him sharp. Keeping him sharp. And friends who are world champion. In the U.S., we're lucky. We get a lot of Russian Olympians coming in, Chinese Olympians coming in, and they'll be the Americans will look at it and go, you guys are really dumb. But the Russians and the Chinese will come and say, thank you for reminding me. I went off track and I didn't even realize it. And so, yeah, just kind of, but I get these guys and they're like, I got to get really, really strong before preseason, and then hope, without doing any more prep, hope it lasts me through the season.
No, it never does.
Thank you.
So this episode of Power Athlete Radio is powered by Train Heroic, the most immersive strength training app experience on the market. We've built an online training business by partnering with Train Heroic to deliver all of our world-class training programs like Jack Street, Hammer, Field Strong, and Grindstone. To learn which Power Athlete training program best suits your goals, head to powerathletehq.com/training. And if you're a coach looking to build a business with the best training tech in the business, head to trainheroic.com/powerathletehq. And now back to the show. For me, at least when I played, I knew I could recover from intensity. It was the volume that beat me up.
Okay.
So what I would do is I would kind of set my different kind of benchmarks. And then I would, as we got into training camp, I knew I'd always have a strength peak through training camp just because, we're eating, we're sleeping, we're kind of in the fight. And I knew that my strength could peak. Okay. And then what I would do is I would maintain like whatever my strength kind of key numbers were. I would keep that weight and I would just reduce volume. Like it might get to the point where I'm doing, let's say on the bench, like 4 or 5 singles at like 405 in week 16, week 17, wherein early in the season, I might get that for anywhere from 6 to 8 reps.
Okay.
And so I just
same number of sets. Numbers. You're just dropping reps.
Yeah. I would just every week, depending on how I feel, like even if I was beat up. And it was just part of like the neurological,
so you were super ahead of far in the curve because the NHL guys and the guys we're seeing, their strength coaches are just kind of
3 sets of 10 at like a moderate weight. And I'm like, that doesn't do anything for you. It actually gives you a detraining effect.
Yeah. Since you can't train and we're traveling, it's this and that. Well, we'll just hope for the best and pick it back up after season.
Yeah. Keeping GPP high is really important too.
Yeah.
What I realized pretty early on, we did a conditioning test at the beginning of the year with 16 110s and everybody passed. We had a bye week, maybe in about week 6 or 8. And the coaches decided to rerun the conditioning test. Okay. And like 2/3 of the team failed.
Really?
Yeah. So they were all in game shape, but they weren't in conditioning shape. And
football's such a strange sport. 10 seconds.
Yeah, or it's even more 5 to 7, 8 seconds.
Wow.
But I ended up matching my time, and they were like, man, you didn't fall off. And I'm like, yeah, but I still did all my conditioning work. I understood. And so this is something I learned after I retired, the value of that zone 2.
Isn't that normally how it goes?
True? Well, I thought that building aerobic base was just bullshit.
No.
I thought lifting heavy weights and sprinting was all I needed to do. And it wasn't until later on after the fact when I got out and we started really looking at the zone 2 and I started kind of just experimenting with it. Like, is this going to be a detraining effect? I was almost afraid that training at those lower intensities, but it goes back to what Charlie said, Charlie Francis. You're either running faster than 90%, or if you're at 75%, you're doing recovery stuff.
That's a good point.
The interesting thing.
The Kenyans do that.
Well, he also talked about.
They're about 80% of their time just spent being mellow.
Yeah. And the hilarious part is he goes, where's the majority of strength built? I'm like somewhere between 75 and 90%. And he goes, exactly. What if you run in that no man's land makes you slower? You have to run faster. You got to run slow. And then he paused. He goes, what does that tell you? And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, it just goes to show you that speed isn't dictated by strength. If you got faster, you could run faster. Or if you got stronger, you could run faster. But there'll be a point where all of a sudden strength does not help you run faster and actually becomes a negative.
Have you? Tell me what you think about this. So I've never, now this is going to be an extreme statement because there are degrees, but even after all these years, I firmly believe you're born fast or you're not. I
think you can train.
I can improve what I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's either something you have or something you don't.
Yeah, because I've got guys come in, they say, what do you think? And I think God shortchanged you and you're not going to get what you want. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I can't build what's not there.
The NFL is very similar.
Okay.
In that, obviously to play offensive line in this day and age, you got to be taller than 6'4", and you have to be able to carry close to 300 pounds. Some guys carry it better, some guys carry it worse. But
Okay.
your ability to be able to move fast from point A to point B and get there and be in a good position, there's just not a lot of people that are wired up for it. And it's one of those things you either can or can't do. And I remember I came in and started early, and I remember after like my second year, I wasn't a young guy anymore. And it's kind of how they break in the NFL. There's kind of like old guys and young guys, and young guys are kind of coming along. Like in my second year, I wasn't a young guy anymore.
Yeah.
And as I was in training camp, guys would come in, and you could tell pretty quick after doing that job, like, oh, this guy's got a chance. He can play. This kid can't play.
Yeah, you
and
can
the coaches
see it
would always
after a
ask.
while.
They'd be like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "This kid's good. I think this kid's got a future. He can do this." And it didn't matter where they came from. It didn't matter draft spot. It didn't matter anything. There were guys that were walk on or free agents that were like, this kid can play. I mean, a couple of years ago,
You're a genetic phenom or you're not.
yeah, I went out and worked with Dave Spitz out of Cal Strength. He had me come in and work with some of his offensive linemen getting ready for the combine. And he sat me down. He's like, "Do you think these guys?" I'm like, "There's 3 dudes here that can, and the other guys, maybe." And those 3 guys ended up still having great careers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Years ago, I was spending time with a guy named Rumin, Rumin, former Olympic coach for Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm.
He's older, really heavy accent.
Gymnastics coach.
Yeah. He had moved Bulgaria from 12th in the world to 4th. So, it's like the worst spot. You almost broke into the medals, right? Yeah. But not quite. But just crazy smart. And Rumin was the one that first, because, I'm American. Anything's possible. You just put your mind to it. And Rumin, when I was young, he's like, "No, dude. No." He said, the only impact you can have on an athlete, outside of superficial is 2%. I was like, come on, seriously? He's like, 2%. So we talked, and I nagged him. We talked. He said, fine, 2.5. And, that kind of threw me when I first started working with adults, because if you're playing in the pros, you kind of get used to the level of athleticism around you. And it was that way with national team. It just kind of became my norm. And so when I first started working with adults, it was a huge transition. Because I had no longer considered our national team guys as exceptional. They were the norm. So if they're the norm, then these other people, I don't know how to say it, not be rude,
not the norm.
But they're not the norm. And then after a while, finally the switch kind of flipped and said, no, these guys are the norm. The other guys, because if someone hasn't worked, I don't think they understand how much faster, quicker reaction-wise, the explosiveness that someone who's, top 6 in the world has. It's almost they're not even the same species. It's just shocking.
Well, also the adaptation phase and the exposure for gymnastics is so early. So when we lived in Orange County, I drove my daughters down when they were, probably from the time they were 2 to about 6, down to the Azarian.
Sure. Edward's a buddy of mine.
Yeah, so he has that big training center down there. Yeah. And I would bring my little girls down there, and we'd always get there early to watch.
His dad was a stud too.
Well,
both world champs.
Yeah. Well, this was the old man. I think he was Olympian in the 50s.
Okay.
And the Azarian.
That would have been Azarian's dad, and then Edward was the buddy of mine.
Yeah. Okay. So he was there, and I would always bring my daughters to watch the older girls. Okay. And that factory, they would have, there would be 50, 100 girls out there.
Sure.
Killing it for like 3 hours.
Sure.
These girls, like the conditioning with these girls, it was kind of funny. I remember in the CrossFit stuff, I'm like, dude, I don't think a CrossFitter could have made it through. And there was no adult that was going to be able to make that through. The only way these girls were making it through was the fact that they were like anywhere from like 6 to 13 years old and weighed, 85 to 100 pounds, just for the fact that the volume was so high.
We did. So I had Alan from 6 to 18, 12 years, and I added up his hours. It was like over 16,000 hours of me personally. And I'm demanding. and then, goes to university and, picks up another 8 years there before he finally retired. But Greg Glassman back in the day was always in my ear about strength endurance, strength endurance, strength endurance, strength endurance. And everything for us was, absolute strength. My guys were doing...
Why would strength endurance be a player in gymnastics? I mean,
it wasn't. I was
going to say
it was Greg's marketing for CrossFit.
Well, if anything, gymnastics is more akin to football in the time domains.
100%.
Max effort for 3 to 5 seconds.
We were doing. My guys would do muscle ups with half body weight hanging on them, for 2-3 reps. So he's yapping. So fine. I'll kick the tires. So we set up a little thing in the middle of their workout. They did 10 bar muscle ups, no kipping muscle ups. So we do rounds of 10 of that, but I had traffic flow issue. So then they would go do 20 jump squats and they'd rotate through. So was it as AMRAP, as many
rounds as possible.
Rounds. And so we did that, and I forget, I did it for 15 minutes or whatever it was. And the guys they didn't even notice it. My lowest guy did 110 muscle ups, 130. Mine was our max. Davey got bored on jump squats and started doing backflips in between. He did like 240 backflips in his squat. And I was like, so you guys are crushed now, right? He said, no, we went to swing pommel horse after that. They didn't even notice. And so the conversation I tried to have with Greg is strength always comes first. Once you're strong, you can do strength endurance work. But if you're using strength endurance to get strong, you're barking up the wrong tree. You've gone the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But it didn't market well.
Well, it's because he had never strength trained.
No, he hadn't.
He once told me a story about deadlifting heavy. And as he was telling me the story, I realized, I don't know if you remember that line from the 40-Year-Old Virgin where he's like talking about like 2 bags of sand and they're like, oh, you're a virgin. I sat there and listened. I'm like, oh my God, you've never deadlifted before.
Good.
I realized as he was telling me the story, he had never pulled a bar off the ground.
Yeah. And it was that way with his gymnastic stuff too. Yeah. So he was like, well, that's just aesthetics. And I said, like we were having an argument about they were doing their muscle ups wrong. And his comeback was, well, you just care about aesthetics. I said, Greg, I don't give a shit about the aesthetics. If you don't straighten your arms at the top and turn the rings, you're not conditioning the brachialis. That means I can't go into more advanced straight arm strength later. So I've wasted my time. And then he said, well, it's work overtime and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, but if all your work you did was low quality, who gives a damn? It didn't get you where you want. I don't care how much of it you did.
Yeah.
But that's right there. I was like, him and I are never going to understand each other. He's never performed at a world-class level. I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
But if you're not, and I get why he was successful, because if you've never been at that level, well, and you admire someone, you're going to take them at face value.
Yeah.
So a lot of people got taken.
No, it's, gymnastics is one of those things where you watch like the perfect execution. I mean, it's what's known as a closed loop sport where now I'm going to, something I've rehearsed, I'm going to go execute to the best of my ability. Like open loop sports, like let's say like football or basketball, but that closed loop where, now it's my ability to execute these movements. And I mean, even though that these are, let's say like they pre-practice the routines, the precision in which they do it, and the margin of error is so small. And like, one step this way and this
you
way.
want to be 70%. So if you're doing 100% of what you're capable of in a meet, no way you're successful. No way. You have to. So Alan goes to university and he's been crushing it. He's been winning. He had been winning since he was 8 years old. I think he was the youngest medalist in U.S. gymnastics history against 13-year-olds at nationals. So he was in second place for floor. The guy who was in sixth was taller than Alan, standing on the floor, and he's in second place. Mm-hmm. But he got to university, and they thought, well, what you see is what you get. But now it's training, and he's doing all these things that they thought they had no idea. Because we start prepping. Some skills you need 3 years to develop. So he had some stuff that was partway through that window. They're like, oh, we didn't know. Now the Russians would understand, Chinese would understand, the Japanese would understand, but the American coaches not all, but as a group, tend to rush. So I've seen Chinese Olympic girls at the Olympics draw a chalk line on the floor and do their basics. At the Olympics. You would never see an American athlete do that. Never. There's do one in the pit, you're good. Do one on your own, you're good. Let's throw it into a routine. And then they're upset. Wow, you only hit 1 out of 3. So I once, there was a guy who did first triple back on floor, Ayarov's boy, Liukin. And then his daughter, Nastya, made Olympic team and won. But I was visiting with Ayarov, his coach, and he was telling me how Liukin had done 1,000 good triple backs. He says, yeah, it takes 1,000 to be stable. Not bad repetitions, but good repetitions. We can get into the neuroplasticity and all that later. So, well, I'm gonna test this. And I had an athlete early in the year, it was postseason. So I just based everything around training, testing this theory. So on pommel horse, he had a skill. He had to do Magyar. He had to do 10 good ones a day. And he had a 3-hour workout. So, if that's all we do for 3 hours trying to get that 10, that's all we'll do. If you can get it in 10 minutes, we'll move on. And sure enough, so 10 good ones a day, 5 days a week. So that's 50, 10 weeks out. We hit 500 and he can make 8 out of 10. I was like, well, that's interesting. The next 500 only took us to 9 out of 10, sometimes 10 out of 10. So just that extreme amount of repetition in order to stabilize, a world-class skill, not something easy.
What about like the mental aspect for these guys? I mean, the ability to have like the Groundhog Day of like, you're going to do this every day until you master it. And these kids are like, I'm in. I always described it as world-class talent with a blue-collar work ethic. So most of the time, your really talented people fail. So we've had, imagine hanging on the rings and being so strong that with straight arms, you can just pull up to a support through a cross. These guys, they drop out. They drop out, or they can just do a triple back, which blows my mind. So before I got to college, one of the seniors ahead of me had been there when the Japanese guy was in, and just out of the blue, not into a pit on a regular match, does a triple back off high bar and lands and goes. He quit because he was bored. Quit because he was bored. So what we look for is, for someone who's not, God's gift, we want repetition. Repetition builds consistency. Consistency builds self-confidence. Self-confidence, then I can go in. So practice has to be harder than a meet. Yeah.
So I would always get roomed with the Russians, right? Because I'm kind of grumpy. Well, Russians are grumpy too. So we'd be roommates, and Dmitry Belozerchev won world's first in '83 when he was 16. And so we're roommates for a couple years. He's not talking much. And then one night, we're talking training. And Russians don't like to talk training, especially way back then, right? It was early. They're still, even though they're living in the States, they're still Russian in their heart.
Yeah.
And he gives me kind of that Russian. And we're roommates. I'm like, shit. And he starts talking. It's like 8 at night. We've done our twice a day training. We've had all our coaches meetings. We've had dinner. We're sitting there. He starts talking, and it's 8 o'clock. And I finally pass out at 2 a.m. He gets going. I'm listening. I'm nodding. Finally, I pull out my laptop. I'm taking notes. It's all math. It's all math. From this age to this age, you're going to do this. You're going to do this many reps, this many repetitions. These things matter. These things don't matter. And so what people don't realize is that by the time you see someone crush it at Olympics, right, they've been tens of thousands of perfect reps for over a decade. And not just the perfect repetitions technically, but the physical structure has been modeled that allows them to execute that perfect technique. So we get, especially here in the States, we get a lot of people, well, I want to do such and such a trick. And I said, all right, well, have you done this physical preparation? Bam, 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 bam. Have you done it for 3 years? And they're like, well, I really don't have time for that.
This episode of Power Athlete Radio is powered by Train Heroic, the most immersive strength training app experience on the market. We've built an online training business by partnering with Train Heroic to deliver all of our world-class training programs like Jack Street, Hammer, Field Strong, and Grindstone. To learn which Power Athlete training program best suits your goals, head to powerathletehq.com/training. And if you're a coach looking to build a business with the best training tech in the business, head to trainheroic.com/powerathletehq. And now back to the show. Hey there, Power Athlete Nation. Big shout out to all the heavy hitters who stuck around till the final whistle. If you've been soaking in the knowledge bombs and epic tales we've been dropping for free, here's your chance to be a game changer. Swing by ko-fi.com/powerathlete and toss a few bucks our way to keep the podcast fueled and firing on all cylinders. That's ko-fi.com/powerathlete. Your support makes a difference. See ya.